And welcome to Light Years. Andy Lou, this might be the most controversial episode we ever do.
Uh-oh.
You know, we're going to talk win projections. We're going to talk a little Trey Lance, little Trey Wiseman. Come to blows. This might end the pod, man.
It's a dark time. It's a dark time in Bay Area sports, but here we go. Here we go.
Before we get started, want to let everyone know we're teaming up with our guy Sheed over at Warriors World. We're doing a special Hawaii Warriors edition of the Steph Better shirt. All proceeds go to Miami Strong Fund by HCF Hawaii. Look, all of you saw the horrific pictures of the fires.
Yep. Buy
a shirt, limited edition colors. Money will go to help those who've lost during the fires.
Yeah. Nothing to add, man. Just buy it, help people out, be a good person, and you get a cool shirt to go with it. Tank, t-shirt, long sleeve, hoodie. I mean, they're all right there. It's amazing.
Black, white, get both, honestly. Honestly, the colors are kind of cool. I'm you all have Steph Better shirts. Don't lie. This is the only time you can get one with these colors. One thing I should add, because I forgot it, limited release Saturday, 9 a.m. at shopwarriorsworld.net. If you can't remember that, just find one of us on Twitter. I guarantee it'll be retweeted in one of the last 3 tweets. Saturday, 9 a.m. Get the shirts for a good cause, and you'll look cool. Oh, brother, I wasn't expecting this to come out today, but it did. ESPN Insider released their 23-24 Western Conference win-loss projections. And I'm going to be honest, a little surprised they had the Warriors as high as they did. They have the Warriors third overall, 47 wins. Now, granted, if you look at it, they have the Warriors only one game ahead of the Kings and Lakers with 46 wins.
There you go.
So it's not like they're saying it's a decided gap. In fact, sorry, I have that wrong. Tied with the Kings with 47 wins. They're basically saying, if you look at the standings, Denver, top seed, 53 wins. Suns, behind them, little separation from the pack, 51 wins. And then Warriors, Kings, 47. Lakers, 46. Clippers, 45. If you look at this, and the article basically explains it, they're saying 3 through 6, they're contenders. They should be bunched up, though. They think Phoenix and Denver will run away with more wins. I'm a little surprised they had the Warriors this high. I don't know. What was your initial impression?
That is a weak West. Weak West. 53 wins for the 1 seed. Ooh, that is a
that's what it was last year, though.
I know. And the Nuggets didn't look great in the regular season. Again, like they didn't try for 2 months of the regular season. So that's how it goes. But it is a rough Western Conference according to the records. Now, that's just how the NBA is now. Regular season doesn't matter, right? So whatever. But
a lot of load management. I mean, if I had to guess, some of these numbers assume, Jokic misses 10 games, Steph misses 15, that sort of stuff. But I don't know.
It just I would like to see a team win 60 games. It's cool. Like we're gonna watch all 82 games, and we're gonna watch the NBA every night. That's what I lament. That's all. But other than that, it makes sense to me. The only pushback I have is I think the Kings and the Lakers are going to be a lot better than the Kings and the Clippers. And why the hell are the Suns 20 games over 500? That's it. I'll let you kind of lead the way here. But it's weird to me that the Suns, I feel like, are this year's Los Angeles Clippers. That's all.
I think the Suns are going to be really good in the regular season. What they do in the playoffs is a different question, but I keep coming back to this point. If KD only plays half the year, which has been what's been the case the last 2 years.
It's the same with the Clippers and same with Bradley Beal. Is he going to play 82?
Yeah. I mean, Beal, there's some reason to believe he just shut it down because the Wizards suck, which we could argue if he's good enough to be a shut it down guy, different conversation. But with KD, it's just kind of like, man, you're older and you've been injured a lot. You might just be a 50-game player at this stage of your career. He only played 47 last year. Year before, he played 55. Year before, 35. It's probably generous to call him a 50-game player. So you're talking about 30 games without him. And I don't know, are they deep enough to win? Is Yuta and DeAndre Ayton going to be good enough to hold down the interior defensively?
Gordon looking good for the Bahamas.
I like Eric Gordon. I wish the Warriors got him, but I'm. What was I going to say? I always thought he was underrated on Houston. Harden overrated, Gordon underrated. That's my take. But he actually had a little dog in him when games mattered. Unlike Big Jimmy. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, the Suns. Okay, can we agree? Denver's going to get the 1 seed if they want it. They have both the talent and the depth, and they're young. Like
I was going to say, it really is just because they're young. Like guys are in their prime. Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray. Like those guys shouldn't be sitting 20 games. It should not be.
You could argue they're not even in their prime, honestly, given their ages too. So, but like to your point, they're all well under 30. There's no load management being mixed in there.
They'll do it, but yeah, they should be healthy.
Yeah, so I feel like the 1 seed is theirs if they want it. I mean, weird things can always happen. They obviously got snake bit with injuries a couple years ago, so you never know. But I feel pretty confident they're going to be one of the healthier teams. And to your point, the Sacramento Kings, also young, also shouldn't really be load managing guys, and they're good. They're probably going to be better next year than they were last year. I see no reason they shouldn't be winning in the high 40s or pushing 50 wins also. Like my take is they could be Memphis, this year's Memphis, and, be the team who just 52, 53. They just run through teams the regular season.
I think that the 2 best teams of that contender pack there are outside of Denver is quite easily the Warriors and the Lakers. I think that's my take is those 2 teams are a lot better than the other teams. It's interesting to me that the Clippers now, I think people are not taking them seriously, which you and I sat here and pounded the table for months talking about how fraudulent the Clippers are. I think now it's obvious that the projections have taken that accordingly. But I think about the Warriors, it's obvious is 47 wins does seem low for a team that missed guys for a lot of games that you would think that they're not going to miss this season, right? Clay was, we don't have to do this again, but like Clay was out of shape for half the year. Jordan Poole was awful. You would think even if Chris Paul plays 55 to 65 games, he's going to be better than Poole was, in my opinion, in terms of making people better and the impact. Andrew Wiggins didn't show up for 60% of the season. And Steph didn't play much either. Maybe Steph plays 5 more games. Like that stuff I think does matter. 47 seems low to me. That's all I'm saying. 47 seems low.
So on the flip side, I'll say turning Poole into Chris Paul should be a couple extra wins, period. Dario Saric instead of Anthony Lamb or JaMychal Green also should add a couple wins. Like that's a competent player, fits the Warriors system. You're going to have certain Dario Saric nights where he just, hits a couple threes, changes the energy. Basically something they got from none of their role players last year, right? And to your point, Wiggins, I mean, he missed over half the season. I don't know what else you want to say. You can't say he's the second or third best player on this team and then not give credence to the fact that missing 45 games matters. So all those things say to me, like, that's 44 to 50 wins easily. The flip side, if I want to be negative, is Draymond played 73 games last year. That's a lot. 2 years ago, Draymond only played 46. Without Draymond, things get murky defensively for them. I know Looney's got a lot better and he can hold it down way more than he could like 3-4 years ago, but the numbers still bear it out. They go from a high-end defense with Draymond to a mid defense without Draymond. And I mean, we saw it 2 years ago. They had the best record in the NBA when Draymond went down, or second best, but they're on their way to 60 wins. And in the 30 games he sat, they went 17-13, and it kind of took Steph playing out of his mind to keep them from free falling during that span. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess, probably have a little less health luck with Draymond and Clay this year, and that probably hurts you a little bit, but your depth is better and your fingers are crossed that the vibes are better and that stuff's better. And I'm with you. I feel like getting to the record 2 years ago, 51s, should be attainable. They're not too old just yet.
Yeah. I mean, getting out to the hot start, I think, is going to be tough. That's different. That team was a championship team. We don't know if this team is a championship team yet. So, I think that's about right. I think they did everything that they probably could have done this offseason to get better. They did all the right things. They traded people that they should have traded for chemistry reasons. They got people that fit the team, right? They got the right people to fit the team.
And they're saying the right things now. It seems like they're very it seems like at least the key players on this team were very unhappy with last year, so there's a little more seriousness.
Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody are the two big guys that I think maybe jumped this team from, like, I think this is a low projection, 47, right? But I also think it's kind of fair. So maybe like Kuminga and Moody, I say, turn this team from like a 45 win team, if those guys are the same that they are last year, to maybe like a 50 win team if those two guys take a leap. I think that's where I'd probably put, because we know generally what Sarge is going to be and what Chris Paul is going to be and what Steph and these guys, we generally know what they're going to be if they're on the floor. There is no more upside with those guys. They are who they are. They might even be worse. Like, they probably will just be worse. But the only upside that they do have are those two guys that are in their third year. Kuminga has to figure out how to rebound the basketball and how to run offense in this team. Moses Moody has to figure out how to not dribble the ball into the middle and turn it over, right? Like, those things just have to be figured out. And if they're not, then this team wins 45 games or whatever, 46. And it's another unserious season, I think, because they're not winning the championship without those two guys taking a step.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, they need them. They don't need to be breakout players, but they need to be regular rotation guys. I would agree with you there. Vegas, I'm looking at FanDuels right now. They have the Warriors at 48.5. Most of these ESPN projections are pretty in line with the Vegas projection, except like a game lower. Like they have the Lakers at 47.5. ESPN has them at 46. I think it's interesting. You think the Lakers are the other real contender in the West. I mean, on the one hand, I agree with you. On the other hand, LeBron's turning 39 midseason. He looked super limited last year. Like, I don't know. I gotta see it. There's still a problem for the Warriors. It's kind of funny to me. I think the Lakers are a legitimate problem for the Warriors because of Anthony Davis. He just takes away a lot of the Steph Draymond stuff by himself. No one else really does that. But I don't think they could beat Denver. I don't think they did anything to beat Denver. Denver kind of beat the crap out of them last year. I think they will again.
They did.
Meanwhile, I kind of like a good, healthy Warriors chance against Denver. I just think it's a bad matchup for Denver. Unlike the Lakers, the Warriors can put Jokic in a high pick and roll and make it really uncomfortable. Murray and Jokic can't guard a Steph pick and roll. Sorry, they just can't. It might not be enough. They might just be too good all around, and they'll just live with that a little bit. But like, it exposes the one major hole they have. So it's kind of funny the way the West is breaking out. It's just, at least on paper to me.
Matchup dependent. I think those are the three best teams in the West. I think that's tier 1 Nuggets because you're the champion. Tier 2 Lakers, Warriors. Tier 3 Clippers, Suns. Right, like, it is probably what I'd go with. Just got proven winners in the first three tiers. Kings would be, but I don't believe in the Kings. I know you think they're going to be a better regular season team. That's fine, but
I see what you're saying. You're talking
they're
about
like
playoff upside.
Okay. Yeah, like they're a cute story team to me, where it's just okay, cool. You had a breakout season from Sabonis and Fox and Keegan Murray, but how good is Keegan Murray? Is he actually Klay Thompson? I don't think so. Is Sabonis good enough to carry you? I don't think so. That defense is terrible. They really did nothing to get better there. So I don't believe in them. I think they're just a fun team. Like, I think they're worse than what Memphis was a few years ago. I thought Memphis was way better than just a fun team. I think now Memphis is kind of a joke. Let's look at this play-in group here. I think this is a very interesting with these four teams.
I was going to say the next four teams: OKC 7, Memphis 8, Dallas 9, Minnesota 10. Any of these teams doing anything for you? Do you see any of them being a breakout team? Do you see anything?
That number 1 team's an easy one, right? That number 7 team, the Oklahoma City, that's an easy breakout team because SJ is already a star. Jalen Williams, the wing Jalen Williams looks like he's going to be something, and then Chet Holmgren, maybe he's a stud second year type of guy. Maybe he makes an impact because he's already been in the NBA. I mean, that's an easy breakout team, isn't it?
Also, Josh Giddey's good, man.
I totally forgot about. He's my type of player. I totally forgot about him. Right.
He kind of had a huge game in the play-in for them too. So I mean, it's just they're good. I kind of am leaning Minnesota just because. Dude, they're ugly, but they got the best defensive upside here. Jalen. I do it every time. Jalen McDaniels.
No, it's Jaden. It's Jaden. They got the D. It's Jaden.
Damn it. See, I did it. I literally.
Jalen's the one that's not as good. Yeah, Jaden's really good.
All right, McDaniels. Dude can defend, and I think he's got a little more offensive game that he gets credit for. Obviously, everyone's talking about Ant, Slow-Mo, Mike Conley, and then you got Gobert. Yeah, I don't know what they do with Cat, honestly, but in terms of teams that made the Warriors really uncomfortable last year, that one and the Lakers are the ones where I'm like, damn, those guys they're long and they can really defend. And so maybe I'm putting too much credence into that, but I kind of like them as a sneaky one. And as much as you hate it, I'm not writing off Dallas either. Luka's the best player of any of these guys listed. Kyrie's still good. I like a couple of the moves they made. I don't know. Dallas could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if they were just a play-in team. I also wouldn't be surprised if they got back on track like they did 2 years ago. Like, say what you want about Luka. He did to the Phoenix Suns more than James Harden's done in his entire playoff career.
Oh, boy.
So, and like, that's not even disputable, you know? Name one thing James Harden's has done that approaches what he did to Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Can't. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of I don't want to say slept upon, but because they had such an embarrassing year last year, you kind of forget how good a Dallas team can be if they're locked in a little bit.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it with Dallas. Defense is going to be bad. I mean, I get they got Grant Williams, who's a nice player. I get that they got Seth Curry. Their offense should be fun, but again, availability with Kyrie doesn't make any sense. Minnesota is an interesting one. I was kind of in on Minnesota. Then I had to watch them play basketball, and I was just like, why is Cat still on this team this offseason?
It's not pretty.
You're right. It doesn't make any sense. Just clear Cat out and get like a vet point guard or a couple of defensive wings, help Anthony Edwards out on. Like, I don't understand why Cat's still on this team. Get rid of him. It's Anthony Edwards' team. Shoot. I don't understand that. So I think they're going to go through the same mess this season again, right? And then Memphis, maybe you can argue Memphis we didn't even talk about Memphis. They might be underrated because guys are just because of Ja, because he's out. People are just like, whatever. But I mean, what if Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson take a leap? They're still young enough, right?
Jaren's good, man.
Yeah.
Winning player. Yeah.
I like 7 and 8. I think those are by far the two best teams there. I think Dallas and Minnesota. They've got the locker room chemistry stuff where I just can't imagine that it's going to glue itself together with those guys.
True. Dallas is a complete unknown, and generally, when's the last time that Kyrie's had a good chemistry team? Kind of funny. Just every team he goes on has bad chemistry, but it's not his. Yeah, it's just a major coincidence, right?
Dribble the ball nice though, so he's just as good as Steph. That's what we're told.
The Hezzy is nice. And I think when you look at this is probably also why the Warriors are at 47 wins. I don't know if there's dominant teams in the West, but it feels like every team is competitive. So there'll be a lot of you're going to OKC and you lose because you're on the road. Like, if I don't know, they feel kind of even through the conference. Even the bottom 5 teams here, I'm not sure I buy any of them. The Pelicans, Jazz, Rockets, Spurs, or Blazers making a playoff push. Like, I think that the 10 ESPN's projecting is probably correct. But Utah's tough. Houston could be tough. I think Udoka will help. They cleared out some knuckleheads. It seems like they definitely feel like they're going to be more of a team who on the if you don't bring your game, they can beat you type of team. Spurs, I don't know. Wemby will be fun. And then, okay, Portland will probably be a joke. But, it doesn't feel like there's many gimme games in the West. So that's always going to be a tough.
That is it. I mean, New Orleans is, dude, when they were healthy, they were really good. They were a top 4 seed for quarter of the season there. Like, that's a real team.
I forgot Zion. I have to consider Zion when I'm doing this stuff.
Consider him to be out most of the time. But hey, you never know. Maybe next year's the year. They'll say that every year. But you're right. You're right. That's 2 gimme. Like 2 gimmies on the schedule, I'd say, right? Like three. Portland, San Antonio, and Houston are the 3 gimmies in the West, but everyone else is good. It's not like it's the East, man. Like you throw on the East, I would argue from 5 to the rest of the way, they're all jokes, right? There are 4 good teams in that conference, and everyone's a joke. The West isn't great. They don't have a great team, but I think that's more regular season NBA thing rather than
the depth of the West still is significantly better than the East.
Always.
And it's like cool now Boston's good and Miami's plucky. The East still isn't that good.
No, you just named the top 2 seeds as plucky and good. I mean, come on, man. What are we doing here in the East? What are we doing?
I mean, am I wrong?
You're not. That's the thing. I mean, Milwaukee. What's with Milwaukee? Right? I don't know what they're doing. It seems like that team's falling apart. Like I feel like they're on.
Giannis had a quote today saying, here, I'll pull it up. I want to get it right. Saying he won't sign an extension. I would not be the best version of myself if I don't know everybody's on the same page. Everyone's going for a championship. Everyone's going to sacrifice time away from their family like I do. And I don't feel that. I'm not signing. Well, that's not great. That's not a great quote at all. He did say later in the article, like, it doesn't make sense business-wise to sign this offseason. He'll wait till next. Sure. But it does feel like everyone talks about Embiid. But if Milwaukee has another year where they're just kind of aimless, like they're not bad because they have Giannis, but they're not contending really, he might leave. He might be gone.
I think it's a 50-50 shot. I think Chris Middleton just signed that contract, but how good is he? Drew Holiday. There were rumors
get healthy,
right? Yeah. Like all these guys. Brook Lopez is on his last. I mean, even you put those guys together, they lost to an 8 seed. I mean that you can argue about who was hurt or not, but they lost to an 8 seed Miami Heat team, which was not good. That East just was terrible. I don't know. I think there's a real chance he leaves, and we'll leave the Warriors stuff to later, but I think it's a real. Warriors are what? 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th in line when he requests a trade or just leaves.
That Chris Paul expiring plus Kuminga plus local legend Brandon Pajemski.
16 pick swap.
How disgusting would you be if that's what you got for Giannis? How disgusted would you be?
I'd probably go and root for. I'd probably be full-time Packers fan. You know what I mean? Jordan Love, that's my guy. No more Giannis for me. You know what I mean? But if I were a Bucks fan, but I think his days are numbered out there. He knows that they're falling apart, that Milwaukee franchise.
They don't. I don't know, man. It doesn't look like it's trending in a positive direction for him. No. That's for sure. No. Speaking of not trending in a positive direction, little Niners news. For all I know, by the time you listen to this podcast, Trey Lance is traded, but kind of saying he's the 3rd stringer. Can we officially say it's over? I don't know if it's right that it should be over or wrong that it's over, but I don't think he's ever going to start another game for the Niners. And, I think we can officially just talk about it like it's a past thing. Like, can you see any scenario in your head where he gets on the field again, outside of a preseason game, of course?
Yeah. I mean, last season, normally I would say no, but last season I saw Jimmy G come back after Trey was hurt, and then it was Brock, and then it was Josh Johnson, and then it was Christian McCaffrey ending the season as my team's quarterback. So, no, your point is right. I mean, he's gone. He's done. I mean, he's done. I don't know if he's checked out. They say he's back on the practice field, but he's got to be done. For the sake of him,
he probably wants it. He wants a trade too. This isn't fun. He wants an. I don't even know where he can play, to be honest with you. That's the shitty thing about the NFL. If you weren't in camp knowing the playbook, getting traded midseason sucks for a quarterback, for especially a quarterback. Like, so he gets traded somewhere else. He probably still won't get on the field. It's another year. And it's just kind of
like, I don't like logically, maybe his best bet is just to say like, hey, Brock's going to get hurt again. Yeah. Remember Brock broke his ribs in like his 2nd game. Sam Darnold's going to be terrible because we've watched Sam Darnold play before. So it's like, it's 8 games,
not over for me just yet. Yeah,
Trey's probably like, well, Brock's on IR and Sam's going to throw 4 interceptions in back-to-back games. I'm back. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that, but that's not what we're here to talk about. That's not the most important part of this.
I mean, yeah, it's hard not to look at this and we're Warriors related, not think of James Wiseman. I know you don't agree with me 100% on that, but the first thing that sticks out to me with both of them is COVID. And I'm not saying if COVID never happens, they'd be stars, but I wonder if Trey Lance's season isn't canceled because 1AA didn't play, and he plays a second year and there's more film on him, if A, he gets better, or B, everyone's like, he's a little more of a project and I wouldn't take him at number 3. Same with James Wiseman. Instead, they run in this situation where they don't play games for a really extended period of time, and then they jump up 3 levels in competition, and then they end up on a team where it's like, we don't have time for you to figure it out, and it's just a cycle of the same thing. And, like I will take it to my grave if James Wiseman, if there was a normal pre-draft process, he's not a number 2 pick. If teams see him scrimmage, they're like, I like the tools, but it's a lot rawer than I thought. This isn't an Evan Mobley situation.
No.
This is an Andre Drummond. I take him 8th, 10th overall because no one else here is that exciting, and maybe we figure it out. And the difference between being a 2 pick and like the 10th or 15th pick, expectations, situation, all like it's so different.
I think the same happens with Trey. I think you're right. He puts the tape on. You put the tape on. If he plays another season, he's probably going in the top 20 instead of maybe top 10, just because it's a quarterback and he's athletic. So okay, somebody will take him to top 10, but I don't think he goes 3. You got to remember, even if the Niners don't jump to 3, somebody else was going to take him in the top 5. Like that, he was consensus top 5. Someone was going to take him. I think Atlanta maybe even was going to take him. I think the difference, so there are similarities there, and then he gets hurt just like James Wiseman, right? He gets handed the job like James Wiseman did the first year and then last year, right? And Wiseman doesn't look great the first year, and Trey doesn't either time, and then both get hurt, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden they're done.
Oh, and then we left my favorite part out of it. Both managements realize when they're hurt, oh yeah, actually we're contenders. What are we doing?
There you go. That's another one.
That's the other part of it, because like the Warriors absolutely thought it was over. That's why they took the wildest prospect, which you could argue is a little disrespectful to number 30. But they want another one. They're gonna they get to sugarcoat that in history. That tends to be how those things go. Yeah. I don't think. Well, actually, I know for a fact they didn't think he still had it in him because they said it publicly.
They said it themselves.
Yeah. Anyway, he did, and all of a sudden they're like, we gotta. We can't be throwing games away, and you guys all know where it went from here. This isn't new info. The Niners, kind of the same thing. They kind of were like, the Jimmy thing isn't working. Let's draft a guy and develop him, and then they realize they have the best roster outside of quarterback in football, maybe second best, one of them, and they're all of a sudden like, we gotta go for it, and he's kind of stuck in the middle there, like. To this day, I'm just like, why the fuck did you trade up for him? Just like, of all things, like I don't care if he's a bust or he's good and Kyle is a horrendous coach. Why'd you go that? Why? It was never going to work, So
we actually agree step for step right now is I think the real gargantuan mistake is they didn't even have the 3rd pick. So the whole process was so bad is that and I was happy as dude. Remember, we did a show when that happened, and I was sitting here clapping my hands. And again, like it's still a good thing that they traded up for that pick, but then you go back and you listen to them talk. They traded for that pick not knowing who they were going to get. So they traded 2 first and used the 3rd first to take them. They were going to take Mac Jones. Kyle had to be convinced off of Mac Jones to take Trey Lance, who, like you said, is a project. Then they went ahead and then stuck him behind Jimmy G, who we know is terrible. It's not like Jimmy G was Steph Curry. We know they're not going to win with Jimmy G. Compound that with the fact that Kyle never close. Right, but but then it's like, why? If you're going to do it, just run it with him again, right? Or just get Kirk Cousins. But then he never got Tom Brady. He never scouted Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, just over and over. And then you see what he did in Washington. Then he comes back, does this, and then uses Trey Lance like he's Cam Newton, like he's a running back, which, again, what's the point of that? At that point, it's like, just keep using Jimmy G then, because it always felt like he went back to Jimmy G like an ex-girlfriend. But y'all don't like each other. So why is he still there?
perfect analogy because they fucking hated each other.
Do hate each other.
But they got back together, and they're like, everyone's kind of texting like, why are they back together? What are they?
That's and then like some people that is what happened. That Jimmy G gets hurt, which is kind of like you and your ex-girlfriend having the same arguments every time. So he gets hurt again, like he does every single time. Then they land on Brock Purdy, and now Brock Purdy, after playing like 7 good games, is the franchise quarterback. So that's another thing that's like, is that good process? Because is Brock Purdy a franchise quarterback? I like him.
I defend. Here's my Brock take. You cannot bench a dude who played as well as he did unless you bring in a bona fide dude.
Right.
Like if they made the trade for Aaron Rodgers, even Brock would be like, I get it. First ballot Hall of Famer. But you can't
Matt Stafford.
You can't bench a guy who played that well for another young guy who, quite frankly, just played worse than him. Even you just lose the locker room in that way. And I actually am buying Brock long term, but it's a lot of pressure on the dude. Just to your point, short recovery on the elbow thing. His arm does look good in the limited preseason game I got, but it's just, it's like the sheer volume of time, and just the amount of injuries they've had at that position. Like it's man, he treats the quarterback position like Kerr treats a center position.
He
just wants a bunch of loonies.
I think he devalues the position because he knows his system, or he thinks his system is going to be good enough. The problem is that the quarterbacks that he's evaluated and developed has not ever been good enough, except for Matt Ryan. And that's when he was the one that choked that Super Bowl away. And then not even the worst. I think the process part of this is that now Sam Darnold, because I agree with you that Brock Purdy should be the starting quarterback. You can't sit him. Mm-hmm. You cannot be a competition unless it's Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers. But Sam Darnold, bringing Sam Darnold in and then having him compete for the 2 spot, making a show of it. And you have now 2 quarterbacks that are athletically gifted, but raw and have never been good in the NFL. You've got 2 of them, and you pick Sam Darnold. That's when it's like, nobody's saying that Kyle Shanahan should be fired. I think people should get to question Kyle Shanahan, though, and just to say, like, hey, dude, like, what are we doing with the quarterback position here? There's no real rhyme or reason. You're just picking guys you like, which is fine if you had actually ever developed a franchise quarterback or scouted one, and he's never done that. He hasn't come close. And I think that's it. Like, nobody wants him to be gone. It's like when we criticize Steve Kerr. It's like nobody's saying that you got to leave, but we still get to question what the hell you're doing. Again, the difference is Steve Kerr's got 4 titles. Kyle's never won anything.
We'll see what happens with Brock. There's a chance Trey goes to another team and in 2 years looks really good, and that would be the worst case scenario for Kyle, that sort of thing.
And if the Niners don't win a title, I mean, if the Niners win a title, I guess it doesn't matter. None of this shit matters.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
None of this shit matters.
It's funny, man. It's funny how a dude can be such a smart offensive coach. He is. The play calling is ridiculous. And let's be clear. As a front office, they've done a really good job scouting. When he took over, they had the worst roster in the NFL. Now they got players all over it. And most of those players are mid-round picks. The Kittles, the Debos, the Fred Warners, the trade for a Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Fwanga. Like, a lot of these aren't first-round picks. But at the same time, the thing you're known best for, you can't get it right. And it's just so bizarre.
That's a good way to put it, actually. That's a good.
It's so bizarre, man.
They are. I mean, defensively, they'll be good again this season. And then offensively, you would imagine you don't need Christian McCaffrey to be a great offense. You already have Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and then you've got Trent Williams on the left side. Like, you would imagine that you don't need CMC to make you a great offense, but that was the case. They needed Christian McCaffrey for them to really unlock the offense. And I'm kind of sitting here like, man, that is a lot of stuff, lot of stuff that you're spending on offense versus you could just have a quarterback and a good O-line and like a good receiver. And that's really all you need if you have a great quarterback. But the Niners doing this like inverted thing where you've got great skill position players, but you don't have a great quarterback. So you really got to be perfect. I don't know. It is weird. Maybe he's okay with it because he's a genius offensive coach, but
Debo had a bad year last year too.
God, he was fat.
Yeah, and he knows it. And he looks like he's not. It's very Klay Thompson-esque.
He's going to be traded if he doesn't show up this season. Very clear.
I think he's a year. He's like a year off of essentially when players hold out for a contract. So it's that sort of thing. Did you know this? I didn't know this about the Niners. No first-round pick drafted under Kyle Shanahan has got a second contract. Now Nick Bosa will. So that will break it. But if you think about how many first-round picks they've had. Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, Mike McGlinchey, Trey Lance, three times.
Well, Ayuk will get one. Ayuk will
That's
get
true.
one.
That's true. He will too. So
that's true.
I guess the trend will be broken, but you'd like to see a better hit rate on first round picks than 2 out of 8 or whatever it is.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. To your point about mid round picks too. That's the part I don't like. I don't care as much about with Kyle. It's we were sold that we were getting the greatest offensive mind in the NFL, and he cannot figure out the quarterback position. That's the thing that bothers me to the core, is that you are the greatest offensive mind in the NFL, right? Outside of what? Maybe like Peyton and Reed, right? Throw those 2 guys in there. But like outside of those 2 guys, you are the best. And you have no idea who's good at quarterback.
There's like 8 coaches who are Kyle disciples around the NFL already. Like that's just influence right there. So
yeah. And McVay's won a championship.
Let me give you the counter. He takes over. They have nothing. That team was disgusting. Year 1, they trade for Jimmy G. Jimmy looks like he's going to be the guy. Year 2, Jimmy gets hurt in game 2 or 3. So season's a bust. Year 3, they go to the Super Bowl. Jimmy looks like he's going to be the guy, even though at the end of the run, you're like, I don't know if I really trust him anymore. Year 4, Jimmy gets hurt again. And that was officially the point where Kyle's like, this isn't going to work. Whether it's, Jimmy or his health, I got to move on. So then he drafts Trey, which is really just his second quarterback. The Trey thing kind of backfires. And then now we're on to number 3, Brock, who's kind of found money. I guarantee you if Brock went 5-2 and looked okay, they'd have traded for a vet this offseason. But he didn't. You
could argue they probably still should have. It's like the Tom Brady thing again, though.
They should. Maybe they should have. Maybe they should have. They literally were like, we found our guy for cheap. We can go get another defensive tackle.
Right.
So, but you're right. If Brock doesn't turn out to be the guy, it's going to be the same conversation. So in my mind, technically only on his 3rd quarterback. Technically.
I like that.
But I'm kind of coping. I'm coping for my guy Kendall Roy.
Well, it is. God, he is so. Well, at least Kyle is capable, so we know Kyle is successful. Kendall, we don't know about that one. He's pretty fraudulent. So there's that. But there's the Washington stuff, right? Like he had RG3, and then he loves Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is a perfectly Jimmy G-esque, probably a little bit better, like slightly above average quarterback in the NFL. And that's another one where I'm like, am I moved if Kyle loves someone like Kirk Cousins? Again, he didn't scout guys like Mahomes and Watson. And then the other one is Tom Brady. I thought Tom Brady was washed. But isn't it his job when he's the genius to bring him in?
The Brady one, I mean, I have a conspiracy theory for you. This isn't even a conspiracy theory. But okay. So when they decided to move on and eventually traded for the number 3 pick, I am convinced they wanted to trade for a veteran quarterback. They thought the price on Stafford was too high.
Yep.
So they said, we'll hold our picks. We're trading for Deshaun Watson. Rams can take Stafford. We're going to get the better guy anyway. He's younger, higher upside. And then all the stuff comes out about Deshaun. And then they panic.
I agree with this one. I've heard this one before. And I think you're right. I think that is what happened. I also think that was correct process. Because Deshaun Watson, prime Deshaun Watson, they're winning 2 Super Bowls. They've got 2 probably right now. If they trade for prime Deshaun Watson. Prime Deshaun Watson was an absolute monster. That guy was, and now Mahomes a lot better now. That guy went to war against Mahomes head-to-head. Like, throw for throw. He was right there with him. I forgot about that one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
You're making me angrier somehow because I fucking forgot about that one. Watson sucks now. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how they are this season. The Browns are a stacked team. We'll see how they are this season. But man,
well, I don't know. I just hope the Brock thing works out. That's all I'm going to say. I like him. I like that. Maybe I'm a sucker for the story and just seeing the guy who looks good in the moment. But I don't know.
What does workout mean? Because I have one more thing for you.
Okay. Here's my question for you. How good do you need a quarterback to be with the players that they have for you to think they would beat the Eagles or the Chiefs? Basically, win a Super Bowl.
I don't even know.
What level? Like, are we talking Kirk Cousins level? Does he need to be better than Kirk Cousins level? Does he need to get to?
Do you think if they had Kirk Cousins right now, the Niners would be Super Bowl favorites? Or they'd win the Super Bowl? They'd be good enough to win a Super Bowl? You think?
I don't know if I trust him. Honestly, he kind of feels like a bad luck guy. I don't. I can't. I just. How many playoff games have you watched Kirk Cousins?
I agree.
But I feel like we don't. Who's someone who's not as bad as Jimmy, but not anywhere near the elite? Do they win a Super Bowl if they have Dak?
I mean, those are the questions, right? Those are the I have no idea.
That's the question I'm getting to. Can they beat a team like Kansas City, who's clearly going to have the best quarterback, and because Mahomes is the best, but can they do something like that? Like, I don't know, maybe.
That's my thing. That's my Kyle issue is that the team is so damn good. You're the guy that's the smartest dude in the room, and you cannot figure out QB, which is the most important position in all of sports. So what's going to happen here is people are saying, hey, he's gone to 2 NFC championship games and he's gone to a Super Bowl. Like, that is good. Like, stop being so spoiled. And I'm sitting here like, listen, I've watched 7 championships in my lifetime. 7. I've watched the Giants win 3. I've watched the Warriors win 4. San Francisco 49ers, what would you say, Sam? Like, own, like, of the Bay Area fans, like 80%. Yeah, right? It's not even close. They've won 5.
The scale's like 3x, 10x.
Insane. The expectation should be that you win a championship, right? I'm not saying like it's a failure that they lose in the NFC championship game, but you got to win a championship. And
also,
I just don't think you're going to with Brock Purdy. The chances are so small. Getting to the NFC championship game, I can see it. I would bet on it. But winning?
Also, I'm going to say I'm old enough to remember them winning Super Bowls, and everyone in their mid-30s or older definitely remembers them. So if you have that in your history, being a cute team doesn't get it done.
True.
If you are the Jacksonville Jaguars,
this is great.
This is the best you've ever been. If you're a team who has 5 Super Bowls, you're kind of held to a different standard. And that's life. That's what's going to be like for the Warriors after Steph retires. Maybe the expectation isn't build a dynasty, but the expectation – people aren't going to get excited for We Believe after Steph.
Right.
People don't get excited for a wild card game after the Giants won 3, right? The expectation's been right. Now, maybe if you suck for 60 years, they'll get excited.
Sure.
But when the expectation's raised, the expectation is what it is. So that's kind of where we're at with them. I will say this is the one difference that I want to point out with Trey and Wiseman is it always felt like Trey was trying to do the right thing more so, whereas Wiseman, it felt like he was so much more lost, so much more deer in headlights, so much more I don't think he wanted to be the player that the Warriors wanted him to be, whereas Trey seems kind of like he was maybe he didn't get it, maybe he just stunk. I don't know, but like it didn't seem like he was defiantly saying this system doesn't work for me.
That's what I agree. That's a huge point. And again, like maybe Trey just ends up not being good because I think the jury's out on Wiseman. He's not good. He will never be. He may be in the NBA for 10 years, but he's not going to be this great player. Trey is more. He went to people to fix his arm. He fixed his stance. He fixed the way he threw the ball. He's been a good locker room guy. People like him. The players like him. They just probably maybe don't think he's great. I can't tell you that the Warriors players love James Wiseman, right? I cannot tell you that. But I think they love Trey, and I think it's better for him. I think maybe we'll end it there. Like Trey deserves to go to somewhere, even if he doesn't start. But like, can he go to Minnesota? I've seen that, right? Maybe Kirk's gone next season. Can he play there? Can he go to
God, just pull the trade off. Kyle be at the airport with some roses in his hand. It'd be perfect.
Just get Trey to go somewhere.
Hey, I know you watch. Did you watch Quarterback on Netflix?
I did not watch Quarterback on Netflix.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to spoil it or talk about it too much because one, if you it shows how psycho Mahomes is. It makes you just like him even more. It shows how Steph he is off the field and just all that stuff. But they also follow Kirk Cousins. It's impossible not to walk away from it having like a soft spot for the guy just a little bit. Yeah. More so than I thought. Like just the amount of work he puts in and how like earnest he is about it that you're like, I get why coaches like him. Doesn't mean I think he should be the answer, but I get it.
The man has made a lot of money. Look, he is a good. I mean, that is the question. That is the question. Can this stacked Niners team win a championship with the Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott's, and now Brock Purdy's of the world? They couldn't do it with Jimmy. Jimmy was probably maybe a little bit below Kirk and Dak. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Kyle's got a lot riding on this. He'll get a job anywhere else if he doesn't make it here. But I think he's got a lot riding on this as a QB offensive mastermind. I think on this Brock Purdy thing. And God, you gotta love football. You gotta love sport.
Almost back, man. Oh, dude, we're recording this Thursday night. Gonna be up at 5:45 tomorrow morning. Watch Team USA. Then you get the Niners Chargers at 7 p.m.
Oh,
in theory, I'll work between those hours, but just kidding. Of course, I'm working. But
let's go.
Man, I'm excited.